United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Trustee Patterson. Trustee Miller.
Present.
Trustee Williams. Trustee McOwen.
Present.
Trustee Ning. Trustee Jaros. Trustee Saunders.
Here.
Trustee Torres.
Present.
Trustee White.
Present.
Quorum is present, ma'am.
He usually fixes mine.
Oh, since there's still no
There are
communication.
no communications this evening.
Report of the superintendent.
Oh, I'm up already. Good evening, everyone.
All right.
We have two brief presentations for you this evening and then a very special student presentation. But in our journey to fulfill our commitment to the 2020 vision, which includes the creation of neighborhood schools in order to encourage those who have traditionally elected to leave our district during the middle years, we are presenting our initial redistricting plan and asking for your approval in order to move forward. And we're going to ask that that tab be presented right after the presentation this evening. The plan is slightly modified from our last presentation following principal input, and it has been designed or redesigned to minimize the impact to the extent possible on those families that would be affected. So Dr. Campbell and Mr. McGrath will be presenting the updated redistricting plan for you, and then Mr. McCormick will share into the record the resolution presented on behalf of the Office of the Superintendent for your approval.
All right. I have to
Sure,
hold
make
the
sure
mic.
you use the mic. I know you have a problem.
My lipstick is still on here. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So we're back, and thank you. We have a brief presentation based on some of the recommendations as the superintendent shared, that we met with the principals and we engaged in a collaborative process on what would make sense in terms of the buildings that were affected.
So last time we met, we talked about all the changes that are happening with the schools and the grade configurations. When we met with the principals and we talked about some of the buildings that were challenges to us, we also went back and said, is there any way for us to make some of the schools that we hadn't said, let's move forward to do an 8th grade, into an 8th grade? And so part of our work, revisions, dealt with finding room at Columbus to actually make that 8th grade possible next year. And a little less certain is room at Grimes to find their room possible. So we're going to talk about the Grimes piece specifically in a few minutes. But basically, part of our revision involved how can we move this vision forward faster.
We spoke to it a bit before. There were collaborative sessions held with principals to find multiple pathways. We wanted to ensure that we were affecting the least amount of families as possible. And so with that, we decided to do a different sort of rezone. And so we took a more conservative approach. Yes, sir.
So just to revisit the timeline.
So just so we can revisit the timeline, we've completed phase 1. So we identified the impacted schools and students. We've completed, for the most part, phase 2. We presented the plan to the school board, SED for approval, and we're revising the plan as needed. We're developing policies to support transition, and we're up to phase 3, which means we'll be developing a communication plan to impacted students and parents, and first reading of the policy if applicable.
So this is really just the revisions. You can go to the next slide. Looking at our existing zone, and again, just to refresh you, this is what the district looks like now. We're going to focus again on Columbus and Lincoln. One of the things that we came across when we met with the principals is what is the least amount of rezoning that you can possibly do to move this vision forward. So when we really looked very critically at that, we realized that our original plan to rezone, and there's Columbus and Lincoln, and this was the original plan that we talked about to rezone all of this area into Pennington. And the question was, is there any way for us to take a more conservative cut? Even though in 2 years we may come back to this exact rezone plan, for right now, we believe that we can actually affect fewer families. And so we did some work into how to do that. And so we came up with this, which is basically a reduction in the amount of area that would go from Lincoln into Pennington. So more families would be able to stay at Lincoln, and fewer families would be affected by this particular move.
So our recommendations for next year, in green, are the proposed recommendations we made at the last presentation. There will be 2 modular classrooms at Traphagen for 2019-2020. Hamilton 7th grade will continue to attend BTMS. This is a change from the last time we presented since meeting with the principal. Additional sections of Columbus and Lincoln will be rezoned once the new elementary school is operational, because that would give us an opportunity to create even a different cut into our original, how we are now. And that would free up Lincoln as well as Columbus in terms of their capacity.
So by doing a more conservative rezone now, it gives us more flexibility in the future when that new school is on board, and we can really look at what's happening with the urban planning, and we can really take a more holistic look at the trends within the city. So by doing less now, it gives us more flexibility in the future.
So Columbus's 8th grade students will also remain. We met with the principal. She will reconfigure her room and repurpose them. And so that will be our true pre-K-8 model for the 2020 vision, so that will be fully implemented. There are 2 options on the table for Grimes. We are working through this. Option 1, an attempt will be made to allow Grimes to keep their 8th grade students, and that way they'll also have their full implementation. The second option is if the 8th grade class is still too large, Grimes 8th graders will go to BTMS.
So in short, the Grimes 8th grade or current 7th, next year 8th grade, students are being given the option, would you like to attend Benjamin Turner Middle School next year? If enough students make that option, then we'll be able to have a class small enough where we can keep it at Grimes. So that's where we have option 1 and option 2.
Just, I don't know what's on your next slide, but just for clarity, right now, my concerns in what was initially presented was that the 8th grade, the current 7th grade section, which would roll into 8th grade next year, would be too large with 33 students. So I've asked them to revisit, this is at Grimes.
At Grimes.
So I've asked them to revisit that plan because I was concerned about having so many students in one classroom. And rather than move the entire group, which would then compromise our commitment to make it a pre-K-8 school, to offer students the option. That way we wouldn't need to move the full section, but only those students who requested it, therefore, 1, minimizing the impact, and 2, getting that class size down to a more operable number where we could maximize outcomes, particularly since Grimes is one of our challenging schools in terms of maintaining the momentum around academic progress. We did not want to start the year off with so many kids in any one particular grade.
So our changes from the last time we met until now include a more conservative rezone of Lincoln, the ability to keep the 8th grade at Columbus, and looking at those options for Grimes. Again, this is the before and after. So on your left, you see the current, and the after, you see what it would look like with the new changes. As you said, it's a more conservative rezone of Lincoln, so Lincoln is still closer to its original size than originally we were going to do.
Mr. Graff, can you just concentrate, go back to that, please, and can you just concentrate specifically on which encatchments have been increased or decreased from the first plan to the second?
Sure. So the only catchment that's been decreased is it's a portion of Lincoln south of Primrose that originally, in the original plan, was going to go to Pennington. So south of Primrose, we've said, let's let them stay with Lincoln for now. Again, we may revisit this a year from now and say, we need to rezone this. But for now, again, we're trying to make the most conservative rezone possible. So it's less of Lincoln that's affected. So we want to affect as few families as possible with this transition.
Where we affected 124 students, we're now at 54.
So there's
We're
70
only
fewer.
sending 90 kids now.
Correct.
So with this, there's 70 fewer students that would be affected by this rezone. All right, so that is our presentation. Are there any questions?
Are we going to be able to, since we're going to be busing the students from Hamilton, continuing to bus the 8th graders, will we be able to combine some of the busing with the Hamilton and the Grimes kids with the 7th grade and the 8th grade? I mean, are there any efficiencies that we might have there?
So we looked at the Grimes students and in terms of the mileage, in terms of where they live. And from BTMS, I believe, when we checked, it was under 2 miles, so students who would attend BTMS from the Grimes location perhaps would walk 1.1 miles to school, 1.3 miles to school. So we have not yet looked at that because we're also going to present them with that option in terms of leaving the school.
Right, so basically the plan is for them to walk.
Yes.
And
I
they
thought
have,
it was, I thought it was 1 mile, after 1 mile.
Not in a,
1 mile, I thought if it was more than one, my opinion, if it was more than 1 mile, we had to transport.
not in a small city school district.
what is the amount, 2 miles? 1.5? Oh, whatever.
Yeah, I think it's 2 miles for
it's more than a
high
mile.
school and 1 mile for elementary, if I'm not mistaken.
Right,
But we'll, yeah, we'll look at it.
right.
But the other thing we did talk about was if we were going to bus, we would put we would use the same bus that's currently used at Hamilton
That's what I was
to
thinking,
BTMS
if we
and
had to.
alter the schedule so we would not, that bus would just make 2 stops instead of 1.
So we would do an early run, 7:30 run, and 8 o'clock run.
Got it,
But that's something we would rather not do if we
Yeah.
can avoid it, just in terms of costs.
right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have some questions.
Anything else?
Yeah, I have some questions.
Sure.
What is the impact on Lincoln crowding? Because you're talking about now keeping more kids in Lincoln than the plan that was presented at the last meeting. So are we still going to have, kids having class in non-classrooms? And how is Lincoln going to survive this for the next year or two?
So some of the things that we're doing at Lincoln, we're looking at, we're doing a residency overhaul with Lincoln, and so we've been delving a little bit deeper into our Lincoln students, so that we know would reveal some of the students who perhaps do not live in that zone, and we've already uncovered some of that. Will we capture as many students? We're not sure. We've just begun that process. I do believe that the class size, Lincoln would originally be 729 without any rezone. We're now at 675.
And what was it at the original plan that you presented?
605.
605. So you originally proposed like 100, I'm just doing the math in my head, like 150 students, and now you're proposing instead like a 70 or 80 student decrease.
So originally, and these are rough numbers, but originally it was 125 student decrease, and then there's
Okay.
70 fewer students being removed as a result of this. So it's
From
it's-
Lincoln
From
specifically?
Lincoln specifically, correct.
Okay.
So it's still it's still over 50 students that are changing schools. And the question is, can Lincoln, because keep in mind, this is a multi-year,
Yes,
so we're going to do another rezone. So, and we're really cautious because we don't want to rezone an area and then a year from now go, "Ooh, I wish we hadn't done that," because we're, how conservative can we be? And that was really the thinking. Let's make the most conservative possible rezone. We know we're going to revisit this. Let's keep our options open. Let's do those urban, impact studies and see what's happening with development and figure out what is the best plan. And that's going to take us a year to do, because we really need to look at not just what the school population is happening, but what's happening with the city to make sure that we get this right.
And more specifically, after meeting with the principal of the school.
Which school?
Lincoln, I'm sorry, at Lincoln School, she really wanted to try to maintain the composition of her school and her families to the extent possible, and has requested that we allow her to continue to use the library for another year, which in the original plan did not include that space.
Okay. Another question. Why is the Grimes 7th grade cohort so large? Is it bigger than the 6th and 5th and 4th grade cohort? You said we have room for the 7th graders, but we don't have room for the 8th graders.
Correct. Go ahead, Dr. Campbell, I see you.
So there are 33 students, and because we're hoping to capture the entire 2020 vision, the principal felt that he wanted to keep his students, and in order to accommodate that, we were literally short one classroom. And so we can't put
There's 2 sections of 7 now.
2 sections of 7th grade, right? They're small sections, and to combine that would make a really large 8th grade section, and we know educationally we should not do that.
So you're saying at Grimes building, we're one classroom short?
We would be one classroom short for
At
full
Grimes.
implementation to keep all eighth grade students for next year.
Okay. Well,
Right.
that problem's not going to solve itself, right? The classroom's
we're-
not going to magically appear.
We're working on that. The two options that we presented, and so some of the work that needs to happen, the families need to be contacted and presented with an option. We did speak with the principal, and we gave him until April 1st to have those meetings, but there'll be some additional support from the Student Services Office in terms of reaching out to parents to see which parents will be interested in leaving.
Yeah, no, I get the proposal, and it
Right.
makes sense as a transitionary stopgap measure. But what I'm hearing is it's not a stopgap measure. What I'm hearing is unless we change something, then forever at Grimes, seventh grade parents are going to be asked if they want to go to Turner in eighth
So
grade.
you're correct in that we have to change something, and there's
Yeah.
two ways to change it. One is to make the building bigger, which we're not doing, and the other one is to rezone the school, which we are going to be doing. But we have to wait until that other building comes online before we can do that. So that's why it's a stopgap measure, because when that other building comes on board and we do a much more complicated rezoning, that's when we can address that issue specifically, and others like it.
Oh, okay, but it's still good. That redistricting won't solve your problem, right? Because
Down the road, it will.
if you have two classes of every grade until you get to eighth grade, then redistricting doesn't solve that problem.
Right. So we would have to rezone and perhaps have one class on one
Or
grade
add
level.
or add a trailer on that site,
Right.
which we were trying to
Something.
avoid this year.
Okay, what's the plan for when Hamilton will get eighth grade?
So again, when the new building comes on, we'll be able to rezone a part of Hamilton, perhaps a part of Columbus, a little bit of Grimes to reduce that capacity, and then we can talk about possibly having a full implementation of the 2020 vision.
Yep. Okay.
All right?
It is a very sophisticated set of problems that we're trying to solve at the same time. This is why we want to be very cautious now. This way we have a lot of flexibility.
Oh yes, it is very complicated, and you've done a fantastic job trying to implement this with as minimal disruption to the city as possible. And I mean, ultimately, we all, the public, and everyone should remember that this is not a 2 or 3 year process. It's really a 14-year process. At some point, you have all the preschoolers through high school will get one system, but it's going to take multiple years to get there. I understand.
Correct.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, very well done. Appreciate it. Moving on to the superintendent's report. Yes.
Resolution.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
We'll need a motion to approve the following resolution. Whereas on or about March 15, 2016, voters of the Mount Vernon City School District overwhelmingly approved a $108 million bond referendum to upgrade facilities and implement the 2020 vision. And whereas on or about March 7, 2017, the voters of the Mount Vernon City School District approved certain amendments to the 2016 bond. And whereas part of the 2020 vision called for the establishment of neighborhood pre-K through 8th grade school configurations. And whereas in order to achieve such configurations, certain buildings would need to expand capacity through building additions and classroom reconfigurations. And whereas in order to achieve balance and efficiently utilize newly created spaces, the district would need to reconfigure school zones in certain areas of the Mount Vernon district. Whereas the superintendent of schools, together with the Office of Student Support Services, have developed a comprehensive plan to establish this goal. Now, therefore, be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, this Board of Education authorizes a rezone to an area circumscribed by Grimeton Avenue on the west, Primrose Avenue on the south, Claremont Avenue on the east, and East Grand Street on the north from Lincoln School to Pennington School. Be it further resolved that beginning in September of 2019, Pennington School will be considered the home school for students living in this area, with the exception that students who have otherwise attended Lincoln by reason of a zone and grade level will attend Lincoln. Be it further resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent.
Pennington.
What?
You misread that.
I said Pennington.
No, you said,
Just read that paragraph again.
said Lincoln.
Sorry.
Be it resolved that beginning in September of 2019, Pennington School will be considered the home school for students living in this area, with the expectation that students who would have otherwise attended Lincoln by reason of zone and grade level will attend Pennington. Be it further resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, this Board of Education authorizes a rezone to an area circumscribed by the City of Mount Vernon boundaries on the west, William Street on the south, Gramerton Avenue on the east, and West Grand Street on the north from Columbus School to Pennington School. Be it further resolved that beginning in September 2019, Pennington School will now be considered the home school for students living in this area, with the expectation that students who had have otherwise attended Columbus School by reason of the zone and grade level will attend Pennington. Be it further resolved that students currently enrolled at Columbus School who are receiving ESL and bilingual services will be allowed to continue to attend Columbus School. Be it further resolved that in order to achieve these changes for the 2019-20 school year, this Board of Education authorizes the use of 2 modular classrooms at Traphagen School until such time that the new elementary school is operational. And be it further resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, this Board of Education authorize the following grade configurations for the 2019-20 school year until such time that the Board of Education takes additional action to further modify said grade configurations. Columbus School, currently P7, will go to P8. Lincoln will go from K7 to K8. Williams from P6 to P7. Parker from P7 to P8. Traphagen from P6 to P7. Holmes from P7 to P8. And Grimes, if class size allows, from K7 to K8.
Motion.
Second.
A motion from trustee McOwen, a second from trustee Miller. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
Okay. I'd like to take this opportunity to give a special thanks to Mr. McGrath and to Dr. Campbell, and to say thank you for your contribution to the district, as this is your last board meeting before moving on to higher grounds, if you will, matter of opinion. But wishing you all the best, and thank you for your dedication to the district. At this time, I'd like to ask Brother Arthur Muhammad to come to introduce the students that are with him this evening. Tonight, we have 2 of our MBK fellows who presented on behalf of the district and the MBK initiative in Albany on February 15th. And their presentation captures several components of the MBK initiative. One specifically is designed to link research detailing good health with school achievement, to identify age groups and neighborhoods most vulnerable to poor nutrition, address racial health disparity and food distribution patterns, to design a plan for reducing policy-making leaders as well as adults and families, children, and community leaders, and lastly, to share planning and implementation with neighborhood residents, including students. And I am proud that one of my student advisors is here this evening, Demaria, to be a part of this presentation.
Well, thank you, Dr. Hamilton. You said it all. So there's nothing left except for, I just want to let you know that these 2 young men are our fellows representing My Brother's Keeper. And this is our inaugural bunch. They're from Thornton High School, straight A students.
Congratulations.
They're both on track to being the valedictorian and the salutatorian, and it's rare to see 2 males occupy that space. And so allow me to introduce to you Demario Lee Budai and Mr. Juan Franco. Give them a round of applause, y'all. They're a little nervous.
Good evening to the school board trustees, our esteemed superintendent, cabinet members, and the Mount Vernon community. I'm Demario Lee Badai, and this is my partner, Juan David Franco. And we are the My Brother's Keeper Fellows, representing Mount Vernon City School District. As part of MBK's first inaugural fellows, we were tasked with the following: to take part in all MBK activities, to create and implement a service project, to stand and deliver the project at the 48th New York State Association of Black and Puerto Rican Legislators Caucus Weekend, to the New York State My Brother's Keeper Initiative. 4, implement a service project. Now, our service project had objectives which are followed.
To link research detailing good health with school achievement. To identify age groups and neighborhoods most vulnerable to poor nutrition. Address racial health disparity and food distribution patterns. Design a plan for reaching policy-making leaders, as well as adults in families, children, and community leaders. And finally, share planning and implementation with neighborhood residents, including children.
With that said, we titled our service project, Food Deserts, Zip Codes, and Educational Outcomes. For those of you that may not know what a food desert is, that is specifically an area, with especially one with a low-income residence, that has limited access to affordable and nutritious food. For our project, we met with all the stakeholders, including our mentor, Alan Gonzalez, Dr. Gabriel Wade, our City Hall partner, Shane Brooks, and the other community leaders. With the help of Dr. Marie Gabaton and Brother Arthur Muhammad, we attacked the objectives by following the prescribed guidelines of the MBK grant, orchestrated and overseen by Dr. Bennett Conroy. After meetings, researching, planning, and strategizing, we tackled the project in parts.
So, parts 1 and parts 2, nutritional health, educational research, and community vulnerability. According to the Journal of School Health, the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition and School Psychology International, there is an abundance of evidence correlating student nutritional health and academic achievements. 1. Good nutritional health in children is associated with improved school enrollment and completion of more schooling grades when the child became adolescents. 2. Good nutritional health in children is associated with reduced absenteeism. 3. Good nutritional programs in schools increase classroom participation and educational outcome. 4. Children in urban and poor communities have the least access to good nutritional food. 5. Disenfranchised communities has the least access to fresh food due to socioeconomics. 6. Systematic racial disparity leads to poor nutrition and school achievements.
And 7, lack of adequate consumption of specific foods such as fruits, vegetables, and dairy products is associated with lower grades among students between the age ranges of 18 and 20. After looking at the research, we wanted to see if this held true in our community. We all know there's an income disparity between the north and south sides of Mount Vernon, so we set out to see if zip codes also impact food distribution, availability, prices, and variety. As we visited supermarkets from north to south sides of Mount Vernon, along with neighboring towns such as Bronxville and Pelham, unfortunately, it became pretty clear that our community did fit the profile of a food desert. Now, as you can see from the images right here, this is only a small batch of the stores we went to. That includes Stop and Shop on Stafford Boulevard in Mount Vernon, Fairway in Pelham Manor, the Chico's also in Pelham. We also went to the Food Bazaar on South and 2nd Avenue, not to mention multiple small bodegas found throughout the communities. Now, going back to the first set of images, one thing I could commend the two franchises for is that the second you walk in, you automatically see fresh fruit and vegetables right there, which is generally a good thing. But when you compare the two franchises, Stop and Shop and Food Bazaar, there's a clear difference. From the pictures alone, you can see that Fairway generally has a larger selection and variety of fruits and vegetables and produce, whereas places like Stop and Shop and Food Bazaar, which are found in the lower income communities such as our own, they don't have the same amount. Albeit keeping in mind the ethnic background and culture, Food Bazaar does have a vast array of ethnic and culturally diverse foods, but it all comes at an expense. As you can see, in Food Bazaar, there are certain problems like lower price produce and lower grade meats. Naturally in lower income communities, franchises purchase low grade, low quality foods that they know people in these communities can afford. So you're naturally going to find potatoes, carrots, stuff that are discolored, bruised, damaged, and meats that are either sometimes cut terribly with a lot of fat or generally past their expiration date. But it doesn't end there. Even though it may not be shown, we visited multiple bodegas in the area, and we noticed something that stayed pretty constant. There was a lack of variety of foods in the bodegas, along with organic section. There was little to none. along with that, the foods present in the bodegas generally are processed foods, canned, bagged, nothing really good. And not to mention, they're everywhere. So for someone that doesn't have a vehicle or a car, it's easy to get to these places and purchase these unhealthy options. Whereas to go to somewhere in Pella Manor, to go to the Chico's or Fairway, where you're getting much better food, although for a higher price, is a little harder. But at the end of the day, there's still more problems.
According to Feeding Westchester, there is 3 million meals that are missed in Mount Vernon each year. 49% of the residents of Mount Vernon are living at or below the poverty line, and 1 in 4 families don't know where their next meal is coming from. So with these issues, what's the plan? So for us, part 3, plan designed to reach policymakers and community leaders. To educate our community and community leaders, we have created a survey which Shane Brooks from City Hall will be distributing to the civic leaders. We partnered with 2 of our elementary schools to revitalize the community garden. This spring, we will be planting fruits and vegetables at Parker and Graham Elementary School. We also partnered up with Mayor Richard Thomas and the City of Mount Vernon in their effort to combat hunger by distributing fresh produce every 2 weeks free of charge to the citizens of Mount Vernon. This partnership is due to the ongoing work of Feeding Westchester.
And finally, part 4, share plan implementation. To share our year-long work, we are producing a magazine which will be available by June 1st at the education centers, City Hall, and other community facilities. Finally, we would like to say thank you to all of you guys for being present here tonight.
Bravo.
What you just saw is actually a summary of what the gentleman presented at the New York State Black and Puerto Rican Caucus Weekend. It was a TED-style talk. There was no notes, no microphone. They memorized everything. They did the research. They looked at peer review. They did the survey. All we did actually was just help and felicitate. They did all the work. And when the magazine come out, we want to have a launch so everybody could see their hard work. Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very well done.
Very nice.
And a great representation of our district. And for the record, I know there is a lot of stuff circulating on social media about the fights at the high school, and nobody's circulating this. So I'd like you to share the video tonight and post that on social media and see how many likes we get. Thank you very much for that. At
Ask
this
a question, Sue?
Surely.
To the young man. Excuse me, gentlemen.
Mario?
Really quick, I just have a couple of questions really quick. Fantastic job, and thank you on behalf of the board and the community for indulging in such a great cause. My question is, doing your research, have you come across school districts that have picked up on, right now there's a industry growing, the juice industry, where the alternative to, to fresh fruits and vegetables, juicing, and, adding additives that make them, a little bit better for our children. Obviously, some students, what we wonder is if we do, or when we do, go full force and try to get the healthiest meal in front of our students, we want to make sure it's consumed. So we want to look at different tactics to make sure that, the vegetables and the diet is good and it's going in. So the question again is, have you come across any research that points to schools or districts implementing juicing as an alternative?
As far as I know, I have not. Now, relatively juicing, it's something that's actually new. Of course, it's been implemented here and there for diets plenty of times, but not as from what I've seen in school districts. Although I believe it is actually a pretty good idea, and maybe something, because as far as we've gone so far is with smoothies, which of course are a nice alternative, but not from what I know anything about juicing yet at the moment.
Sure, okay. Just want to get your input on that. Thank you, great job.
Since you're here, can I ask a question too? It's a great presentation, and food deserts are a real thing. It's a real problem in many communities like Mount Vernon. Not to put you on the spot right now, but it would be awesome, I think, if you could present to the board, maybe by email or something, any findings or research, like Trustee Williams is saying, specific to the school districts. How can we help? I mean, some of these things the school district has no control over, right? You have the community itself, or city government, or others have to do it. But some things we can control. A few years ago, we started doing, free breakfast for everybody as one way to combat. So do we have the world's most healthy breakfast? Probably not, but at least kids are eating, and we know that that's a big contributor to their ability to learn. So anyway, just an open invitation. You guys did a lot of work and a lot of research. Share it with us, whatever we can do. The gardens are a great part of that, but anything else you found that you found, model school districts, model gardening programs, model menus, or anything you came across, I'd love to see.
One of the things that we recommend, and I'm not sure if you have it established, is that we would like to have student representatives a part of the discussion as to what should be on the menu, because working in a cafeteria at A.B. Davis, monitoring lunches, I see how much food is actually thrown away. And sometimes it's not because they're not hungry, they might not like the selection. So since the students are actually the ones that's eating it, I think we should hear from them as to what they like and what they don't like, and so we would have less food that's thrown away.
I actually shared with my advisory group last week and the week before, for that matter, that my advisory group will serve as the committee that will sample the food from the vendors that are competing for the cafeteria account. So they will have direct input on which recommendations ultimately get made to the board, assuming they meet the requirements of the RFP.
So one of the surveys the boys created was a student survey for students to look and see what they like. But when we presented at the caucus, one of the things Mount Vernon was commended for was the fact we do have free breakfast and free lunch. Mm-hmm. One of the things we noticed in our studies, even though there were free breakfast, kids were not eating it. So the studies show kids who even have option to not pay for lunch had longer attention span in school. So we were commended by the NICED for when we presented that our district is one of the few that have the free lunch and free breakfast, regardless of income. So our district is moving in the right direction when we look at the research that the boys did.
Thank you.
Thank you very much again. And for those of you advisors and leaders, thank you as well. And Shane, thank you. Also, I want to thank the board for several of you had presented questions in advance of tonight's meeting. Several of those questions centered around change orders. So at this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Policio. Is your student here? Is she here? Oh, okay. You know what? Let me get the other student presentation up. You want to introduce her?
Okay. While I was visiting Pennington Elementary School last week, they were having a Black History program, and this young lady named Amaris Wells did a poetry reading of original poetry, and I was just blown away by her. So at this time, I would like Amaris Wells to come to the podium, and she will be reading two of your poetries, two of her original writing. And her teachers, is Miss Brooks here? Who was your, Miss Brown? She really worked with her and was so proud of her. So that's who I got my information for. So Amaris, welcome to the board, and we're eager to hear what you have to say.
And Amaris is also on the Superintendent's Advisory Council.
My first original poem is titled, My Weapon. You cannot control me as long as this book is in my hand. You do not own me until my knowledge is no more. My wisdom is the most dangerous weapon of them all. You thought it was my skin, but my real weapon comes from within. Flash forward to present, we are afraid of guns. We run from knives. But it is the words that take lives. Our voices are our hope. They are our chance. But the words we speak are just overglanced. Maybe if we said the right things, not I hate you, he, she is mine, or gang, gang. Maybe if we use words for love, it can create the next big bang. But then again, who knows? I'm just another 13-year-old girl whose head is stuck in her phone, right? My next poem is titled, What If? I guess this is just another poem about history and our past. If you don't want to listen, please excuse yourself from class. But this is a question no teacher has ever asked. So tell me, what if no one ever spoke up? What would happen if the people who fought for change and justice decided not to speak? What if Rosa Parks or Claudette Colvin did move when asked to leave their seat? What if Martin never had a dream? What if these black leaders didn't think change was what we need? Or do you think there would be any change? Or would all the racism, sexism, and wrongful acts still be the same? Would black bodies still be hung on trees? Would we still be told to get up and leave? Would I be able to learn and speak? Or would I be on a plantation somewhere getting beat? See, Booker T. Washington said that we should just keep quiet and work hard to prove that blacks, that African Americans deserve a chance. And I'm not going to sit here and say he had a bad strategy. But tell me, how will we better ourselves with tools they weren't willing to give? How long, how hard are we going to work just to prove that we are worth being given a seat, to be given a chance, or just to be treated like humans? I get that if you spoke back, you might have gotten beat, but you got beat if you didn't work quick or hard enough as well. So someone please tell me, what if no one thought it was wrong? What if someone never thought they were worth more? What if someone never imagined that they could be better than that? What if no one was brave enough to speak, to dream, or refuse to give up a seat? What if no one fought for what they believed? Well, I'll tell you. Not only me, but we would be somewhere right now on a hot farm picking cotton, told that if we want to live, we do as told. We would be threatened to be hung if we even thought we were worth something or could be more. We would be young kids without a dream and adults without hope in their heart.
Bravo.
Amaris is an eighth grader at Pennington Elementary School.
Maris, can you come back up, please?
Come on back.
I just want to say, you gave me goosebumps, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. It was so many good things that you presented with your poetry, so many good things that you do. And it's a tool, your rhythm, and we can all learn through rhythmic learning. A lot of us are rhythmic learners. We have different learning styles. And, your interpretation, your knowledge, and it makes sense because I know you have some of the greatest parents. I know them personally, actually went to school, graduated with your parents, and they are model parents. So we're very proud of you. Your delivery, the message, the content, your representation. You don't just represent yourself. You represent hundreds of thousands of students and just young people who have a voice. I think the line, I'm just a 13-year-old and my phone, right, that made me think, like, for a minute. I'm like, wait, what? Because I have an 11-year-old and she's always in her phone, and we know one of our biggest challenges with concentration is from being distracted by the phones. However, it's the tech era, we have to go with it. So you made me think, and you're doing great, and we would like to, do you have a poetry club at your school? You guys have a poetry club? How do you guys arrange this?
Her coming to me with those poems made me decide that I need to start.
And what school is this?
Pennington.
Pennington. Poetry club, that's awesome.
Maybe we should have one in all the schools. And I felt the same way. When I listened to her poetry, I got goosebumps.
Yeah.
And first thing I said, who is this child? And of course, I found out it was the parents. And her teacher stood up and said, I helped her with this. So I was so proud. And I said, if I can do it, I'm going to have her speak at the next board meeting.
That's pretty
And
awesome.
Maris, you did a beautiful job.
Thank you.
Continue to write. Continue to speak. I know you have more than those two. Did you bring another one?
Yes.
Just one more.
One more question before you go, before you read. How can we take this form of art and help our students learn, understand math, English, just, points as a student where things just get a little complicated? Just a question, you don't have to answer. It's just an open-ended question, but I'd like to know how we can, leverage that and get better as a district, because it is a tool. I think it'll be really helpful.
Thank you. How they view things. I think generation time, maybe if you spoke a little more in their language and try to convert it into things you want them to know.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you.
All right, then. I know we have some Pennington teachers back there rooting her on. I want her mother to stand, and all her family, her grandmother, her great-grandmother, the whole family, please stand. That's her grandmother over there. Okay, one more, Maris.
Another one of my poems are titled Our Generation. These kids now don't know what grew on trees. Was it fruit, money, or black bodies? A strange fruit that's bittersweet from the bodies of our ancestors that got beat. These kids now know of whips as a car, not as a rope that can give you graphic scars. These kids don't know what our ancestors fought for. These kids don't know who they are. These kids don't know what happened in their past because the world now just moves too fast. We could only hope for a better future. We could only hope our generation's lives will last.
Excellent. Thank you again.
Thank you.
And to the parents who worked with her, to her teacher that worked with her, and to all the Pennington teachers that are one big family, thank you.
And at this time, I'll ask Mr. Policcio and Mr. Baviello to do our change order summary for the board, please.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Nothing poetic about the change orders, I can assure you that.
Try to turn it into a poetry. We'll like it more.
So the first one, what happened at Thornton High School, Freeman Mechanical. It was a change order that the original plan was to install AV dimming equipment serving the new experimental theater. During the demolition, it was realized that an existing 12-inch thick brick wall next to the stair could not be removed for structural reasons, which generated the change order.
So because we couldn't relocate or demolish that wall, at the same time, the mechanical work was happening on the roof of the building, and this change order reflects having to move that equipment because we couldn't bring the ductwork down at the original location due to that wall having to stay.
Mr. Baviello, can you just refer, when you say this change order, can you correspond it to our list so we can follow
Should
along?
be MC 21.
Yeah, so they're in the order that they appear on the
You just
on board
talked about
docs.
11.5, and now you're talking about 11.6 on the agenda.
11.5 was Pennington.
I don't have the agenda number.
Right, so it's change order PCO number 21. It should be the
That's
first.
number 10 on my guy. It's 11.10.
I see it. Okay, thanks.
Number 10.
11.10 on the
11.10.
resolution. That's the resolution number.
Change order 21.
So the second one is change order PCO number 73, again at Thornton High School, Nyram Mechanical. This change order came about because of a discrepancy in the floor plans, and the elevation. So there was a clearance issue, which, for egress, which created this change order. And once the change order was created, it was negotiated down from a large amount to a smaller amount, and it was unforeseen when we had originally, under the original plans. And then once the discrepancy in the two plans, the better way to do it was to create the change. Get on that one? Next one is change order number 8. This one was pretty simple. The original design of this had an obstructive valve that was in the corridor. So it came off of a heating unit. Our concern was that it could create either vandalism or could be custodial. We could damage it with custodial equipment. So the change order puts it inside the wall. Next one is change order number 6. This was Pennington Elementary, J&M Heating. So we used some of the existing kitchen equipment prior to the renovation. And in this particular one, in the documents, it called for the hood to be removed and stored. And then once the construction was complete, the documents omitted the reinstallation of the hood. So this change would have occurred either way, and it was for the reinstallation of the hood.
$2,500?
Next one is change number 53, Pennington, Nyram. So the IT and security portion of the renovation came after the construction documents construction had begun. So this is to revise the hardware on the doors to upgrade to meet our new security and IT needs. I'm going to ask Mr. Baviello to walk us through the next one, and that would be change order number 54.
I'm sorry, Mike, can you elaborate what changed about the doors that needs, you said to meet our security needs, we needed to change the doors?
Right,
How?
so we didn't change the door, changed the hardware so when we upgraded the security in the plan, access, so when we use card access or any kind of remote access, the actual hardware has to change so it can accept those type of egresses and access. So they need to be electrified, and so the hardware itself had to change. So that was just a change in scope from the original plan.
Power doors?
The change also.
This change order is to cover the electrician's cost to bring power to the doors?
It's the actual hardware.
The actual
It's
doors?
the hardware and the prep prep on the doors
Frames.
as well. So it makes more sense to accommodate this, well, and we were implementing new security measures, as Mike said, with electrified hardware for door access control, et cetera. Some of that hardware also requires prep work to happen with the door frames and the door themselves during production. So this change also accommodates that upcharge to incorporate that now.
Is this part of an overall plan at Pennington specifically? I mean, I'm just looking at the change order. It says reinstall existing window. Does that mean only one window is getting reinstalled with this new security capacity? Or is it every window in the building, or what?
Which number change order are you looking at?
I'm looking at change order number 55.
Oh, we were talking to 53, correct me?
Yeah.
Oh, this is 53 through 55. I'm sorry. Okay, you haven't gotten there yet.
That was 53.
I'm sorry. Sorry, continue. Got it.
No
Okay.
worries.
And now
I didn't know
Ken
they
will
were
talk
all
about
together.
number 54.
Sure. I got it.
So 54, I believe, was one of the change orders that the board had raised a question on at the end of last week. We provided a written update, which I'll just quickly go through. So 54 was not just a door itself. It was to address discovered conditions following the demolition of the greenhouse at Pennington Elementary School, where we found a condition where there was structure in conflict with the original design of a new entry storefront with a transom window above. We could not install the transom because of what we found within the wall after demolition, so we received a credit for that window. The change order involves providing a stucco infill in place of that, as well as dealing with the masonry wall conditions surrounding the door. Also included in that change order was additional interior scope, which involved painting underneath the existing stair and the interior walls and some millwork, which was not included in the bid documents. So this addresses discovered conditions and creates a more holistic package. So it was not just a single door for that amount.
The next one, excuse me, is number 55, also at Pennington with Nyram. So up on the third floor in the art room, we were creating a full-size door egress out onto the roof area. When we did the demolition, there was an I-beam that was in the middle of the door. It was unforeseen. It wasn't on any of the old documents that we had. So what we did is we put a half door below the I-beam and restored the window and masonry that we had to originally demolished to put the full-size door in, which created the change order. And then the final one this evening is number 10. It's the 5 schools project. It's Bertucci. And this one was at Thornton, I'm sorry,
Williams.
at Williams. And there was an actual sink that was backstage. It was part of the original design. So it had to be removed, and all the plumbing had to be removed with it.
To allow for the ductwork.
We had an existing, a new duct that we were putting in, and that was going in that spot as well. Any questions?
Is the sink getting relocated or just taken?
No, it was done. It was an old sink that was just in the wrong place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you, gentlemen, appreciate it. You're welcome. And that concludes the superintendent's report. Just a quick reminder, actually 2 other things. I want to commend Dr. Collins for an extraordinary production this past weekend of Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and August Wilson's production. It's one of 10 series that August Wilson did, and it was an extraordinarily mature content for our children, and I was very hesitant about their capacity to deliver, but under her direction, the children did a phenomenal job. She isn't here this evening, but I applaud Dr. Collins for an exceptional job in continuing to expand the opportunities for our students through the arts. And lastly, just a reminder of the board retreat is scheduled for this Saturday from 9 to 1, and any input on the agenda or modifications to the existing agenda would certainly be appreciated, and perhaps we can review that under new business if necessary. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Do you want to mention the
thank you.
basketball team?
Oh, yes, basketball team. We are on, actually, there's another game tonight.
Tonight.
15 minutes.
Starts in 15
The
minutes.
game starts tonight. This is the final of this series. And our boys started out a little rocky and turned out to be an exceptional season. We are, what's the record now?
18-4.
18-4. I was very concerned about this team in the beginning.
Well, you get to a point in the playoffs when you're 0-0.
Yep.
So at this point in the year, they're 0-0, and it's just you have to get out there and get it done or
Yeah.
pack it up.
They're making us proud.
Yes,
Making
they
us
are.
proud. And that concludes the superintendent's report. Thank you.
I thank you. I would like to thank everyone for just coming out tonight on this cold evening. And during the past month, I attended Rebecca Turner's family paint night. Wonderful time, very well organized. I give credit to the parent liaison and their staff that helped out. And they gave away some beautiful raffle gifts. I wasn't fortunate enough to win one, but they were great. They were some great ones. I also attended Pennington's Museum of African Americans. That you touched the children. They were grades 4 and third graders and fourth graders that put this on, and they were just marvelous. You walk around, you touch them, they came alive, and they talked about their person, their African American that they had chose. They were all in great costumes. They looked fabulous. Due to my own personal schedule, I wasn't able to attend the production of Ma Rainey, Black Bottom, but I heard it was fabulous. So kudos to Mrs. Collins and her group. We have Math Night May 7th at Trapehagen, and March 7th at Trapehagen. And we also have March 8th, the Mount Vernon Basics first anniversary. What time is that? 6 o'clock at Friendship? It's at 6 o'clock at Friendship. So, and that's all I have to say. I just want to thank everyone for coming out. I want to thank the young lady, Amaris Wells, for her poems, and to thank everyone just for being part of our district and giving your best to us. And thank you. Thank you. Our next committee reports, I know it was not a good time. I'm going to start with Trustee Patterson.
So I'm actually doing 2 committee reports today. Taking over Budget Committee temporarily for this report, and I will be doing the Audit Committee as well. So I'm going to start with, I lost the Audit Committee's notes, and I just figured it out 3 minutes before I started speaking, so I'm going to hopefully do a very quick audit report. So the Audit Committee met. We are, again, still discussing the accounts payable, which was highlighted during the audit. We are working closely with BOCES currently to see how we can work on figuring out how to automate the system, ensure that we're using it to the best of its ability. We actually have started to automate the 6 largest vendors that we have currently to implement that and put it in place. And we ran a new training with district-wide staff as well as further training with our in-house staff to ensure that everybody understands how to go, how to process everything going forward. I will say I came in one day and I sat with the accounts payable department, and it is, there's a lot of touching of the same piece of paper. So we're working on trying to figure out how to not have to click the same button 6 times. We also took another day and went through the whole process and ensured that everybody's on the same page with how many steps there are in the process and which steps we can actually begin to use Envision to make it a little simpler. And that's the audit, and then the Budget Committee I have over here. So Budget Committee, we met and we discussed that there may be some grant money available, and we've been looking for some grant money for Mandela and some money for the high school, Mount Vernon High School. We discussed the CTE programs and which programs we currently have in place and which ones we're focused on for next year. The special ed costs were discussed in that program, in that meeting as well. We were looking at ways that potentially we can save money, whether it's bringing these programs perhaps back into the district and figuring out how we can offer these programs, or, there are just some things that are not fiscally responsible to bring in. We discussed bringing maybe potentially a mental health program into the district, and that was something that I know a few other trustees are very interested in doing, so that's something else that we'd like to discuss, and Felicia was fantastic. Felicia Gann was fantastic with that. And then we spoke about the state aid, and that the state aid coming in is not as much as we thought it was going to be this year. So that's something else that we're going to have to kind of figure out where we're going to go from here. And those are my 2 reports.
Thank you very much. Dr. Nang, we didn't meet, did we?
No, we did not meet. Our next meeting will be on March 18. And on the agenda, we'll have the situation at the high schools in terms of graduation rates and level of performance, and so on. And in fact, we would like to add that to the retreat agenda, please.
Okay.
Yeah. So March
And
18th.
Dr. Ning, I didn't talk about my visit to Lehman. I thought you were going to address that in your
Well,
report.
I wanted to give you the luxury to do that. That's why. So,
we had an amazing opportunity with Lehman College last week under the guidance and facilitation of Dr. BC and Dr. Ning. A group of students had an extraordinary learning experience, which actually became a part of their academic day, and it's an ongoing partnership where students had the opportunity to take courses at Lehman with college professors, and hopefully those youngsters will ultimately select Lehman when they get to that point in their college selection process. But I was just so impressed with our children's exposure to geology, math and sciences in particular, computer science, and this partnership was funded through a grant that Dr. Ning put on our radar and we were able to apply for, and we're successful in capturing it. And this is the kind of learning experience and the kinds of partnerships that make Mount Vernon such a unique place, and our students continue to grow from these extraordinary learning experiences, and we have to spend more time talking about those kinds of things and showcasing those kinds of things in our district and students like those that you heard tonight. BC, am I leaving anything out on that grant that we may want to highlight? Okay. So these were students from the STEAM Academy who were there. So this experience was really about augmenting and adding to, if you will, their learning experience from the STEAM Academy. And I was so pleased to hear them talk about what they were learning in school and how that mirrored some of their learning experiences at Lehman College.
Thank you, Doc.
And the faculty, they are so excited. These are full professors who do research. And so one of them came to me and says, I never taught, kids at this level. So he was so excited just to be able to be there and teach them, and he's taking the responsibility on. And this is the kind of initiative that the National Science Foundations, hope to see, like faculty in the content area working with public school students or going to the schools and understanding the ins and outs, of what public schools are about and what this type of learning brings in. And we are hopeful that some, may attend Lehman, but we are more hopeful that many would go to the Ivy League colleges and, do medical school, computer science, and so on. Because it's through programs like this that the kids get exposed to what's needed, to get access, to those type of colleges. In fact, the team, is working right now on seeing how many of the kids could be placed into some summer programs. Some in the city, like coding for girls, or what's the name that they use? Also, they have program like Beaver program. They have All-Star Codes. Is a computer science, and in biology, the possibilities of research are just enormous and could prepare them for medical school. So we are all excited. Faculty are excited, and hopefully, and then there will be also some help in the SAT and ACT type of exams. Again, we would love to expand this to all 3 high schools, as we move forward, so that all the kids benefit, and so that we could increase, that graduation rate, so that we can increase that access to college. It's called the Pipeline, Lehman College and Mount Vernon Pipeline to College. That's what the name of the program is. And thanks to Dr. BC. She's really the one who's worked very hard to bring these funds. Again, along with some, the idea came from some professors at Lehman. And thanks, Dr. Hamilton for allowing this to happen and for being there, along with Rick and Michael Felicio. Thank you.
Thank you.
To go.
I guess there were, about 40 in total?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's great.
There was an application process. It took a long time. This was supposed to begin in September. However, lawyers have to work on these MOUs. Cliff knows what I'm talking about. Sometimes it's one word that they need to change. So CUNY having a new process of implementing these MOUs, it took a while in order to put this together. But we hope that moving forward, any future programs, will be easier to work with. I think CRIF has a, working relationship with some of those lawyers now. So they understand each other, the language to use, that because we wanted to protect the district as well. Lehman wants to protect its, interests, and the district needs to protect its interests. But at the end of the day, it's the interest of the kids. No matter what we do, it's about the kids.
That's great. So we started the process, and it's going to continue all throughout the summer?
It's going to continue throughout the spring first, up until May, June. There will be a presentation, and so on. And then the summer, there will be summer programs where kids will go to Lehman. Hopefully, we may include high school kids from Mount Vernon High. So they're working on the details right now. And then trying to send some of these kids to outside, what we call outside funded programs, where they're gonna guide them toward applying to those programs. One of the things that kids are not aware, and parents are not aware, and sometimes even the schools are not aware of many of these opportunities that kids have. In order to go to certain colleges, the program doesn't start in 11th grade. SAT prep doesn't start in 11th grade. The 11th grade SAT scores are the most important because by the time you send your application, it's September of 12th grade. So those scores, you need to start preparing in 10th grade and in 9th grade. So there is a plan. We have a great team between Mount Vernon, STEAM Academy faculty, teachers, and some of the coordinators of the program, and some faculty at Lehman, to design all these. And we will have a group of undergrad math and science students involved, meaning they will come and help on those SAT tutoring and be pushing in the classroom, work with the teachers. And as they get certified, Mount Vernon would have the opportunity to hire them as well.
It's wonderful.
Wonderful.
That's absolutely
Have
wonderful.
we have we reached out to Westchester Community, the location in Mount Vernon on Fifth Avenue, their hub? I'm not sure if there's something to look into.
Dr. BC, I'm not sure how we ended up with Lehman.
Reach out to WCC on another issue, and that is the issue with the CTE classes.
Okay.
That's the only thing they have that they can offer us at this point in time.
That's good.
And we are working with them to, as a matter of fact, to do a grant that will bring in some of the programs that you're talking about that needs, who was talking about it from Mr. July?
Somebody, but,
Talking about what?
yes, she mentioned they didn't have report.
Yes, when somebody said that they were working, we were going to bring these programs in.
Nice.
That's where we're going to start from.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Trustee Torres?
No, I don't have a report. Melissa generously and kindly and aptly
Thank
gave me a report.
Trustee Miller?
With two things. One, I think we've settled on June 8th for Beyond the Badge, which is a Saturday, which is exciting. And the good news is we already have done most of the work since we had to cancel due to rain, so we'll just get it going again and get the students excited. Dr. Bennett Conroy also has talked, so you'll let me know when we're going to meet. And then also Dr. BC told me about the mobile parent resource center that we're going to get to look at, which is awesome. I would like to thank Mr. Policio for taking some of us on some building tours. It was really very interesting. And I felt that I became armed with information that would be very helpful when I get, or any of us, get confronted by parents about, oh, this building's terrible, you start to understand there are degrees of terribleness and there are degrees of goodness, and then there's the parity and equity between the different buildings. And I think the team has done a really good job of balancing out the discrepancies between the buildings. I was pretty pleased with what I saw. And I have some ideas about the retreat, but I guess we can talk about that at new business.
Trustee McGowan?
We've already done at least 2 readings of the new grading policy. My understanding from district administration is there's still, they want to hold off one more meeting before adopting it to ensure that it's implemented again, as we discussed previously, in the best and most uniform fashion throughout all the 16 schools.
Thank you. Trustee Williams?
Yes, good evening, everyone. The Student Activities Committee met Thursday, February 28th, here at the district at 9:30. It included Dr. Gorman and Gary Gregory, Director of Phys Ed and Health, and we discussed briefly implementing more activities district-wide that support social and emotional growth, which takes a little bit of collaboration as well. With the time periods, some of the challenges there are existing programs that support academic growth after school between 3:30 and 5, and we definitely support that. However, we do want to focus on social, emotional growth as well, and bring families together and just kind of, bring more engaging, fun activities. Some activities include school dances, something that we really don't really hear too much in the district, but I think it'll be really good to foster good parent partnerships in the community. Bingo nights, karaoke nights, game nights. However, so these things are after school, so we will have to look to partner with our PTAs and our liaisons to come up with, different programs so we're not overlapping. We also spent some time reviewing the branding initiative that Trustee McGowan, myself, and a few board members are coming in on. And the rebranding initiative just really kind of goes back. You've heard us talk a little bit about rebranding the mascots and the importance of having consistent signage across the district where each school has their own unique identity, which will help us go into stronger interscholastic sports, different multi-school clubs and activities. It helps with school readiness, camaraderie, so many different things. So we are taking the steps to finalize mascots for each school that can also really spruce district spirit. We talk about school spirit, but now where we have technologies, we can actually implement a district-wide store, digitally, where anyone can go in and order a sweatshirt, Pennington Panthers sweatshirt, and we maybe can discount them, and hopefully during the interscholastic activities or school activities, parents can actually show up really proud, representing their school. And we also talked a little bit about implementing community service in the district, which is going to be a turning point because we know that it's a requirement for many colleges. So we want to keep the bar high. However, we want to make sure we are, offering what's needed to get to the next level. From what I understand, we're putting the Junior National Honor Society in each school. We're working on that. The elementary schools. So that's a phase that we have to get through. And from there, we can kind of, foster different activities and get the students' opinion on exactly how we're going to attack or approach community service, where we can actually take higher accountability outside of 3 o'clock or even during the day to maintain and keep our communities bright and brilliant. That's what I have. Our next Student Activities Committee is scheduled for March 18th at 9:30, and we will bring in our PTA presidents and continue this conversation to create activities that foster social and emotional growth. Thanks.
And Trustee Williams,
It'll be
I've
here.
always been saying, I would love to see mother and son dances and fathers and daughter dances within some of the schools. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, well, you know, and my daughter now is in 5th grade, and she's going on to middle school, right? And it's like so fast. And, you know, now she's talking about cap and gowns and graduating and things like that. And we're considering the next step for her, which is growth. And I want to dance with her, you know?
Yeah, I would love to see.
I want to go.
Okay,
hold her
parent
hand.
liaisons, you hear me?
You know. Yeah, she doesn't want to dance with me, but.
She won't want to
Yeah.
dance with you after a couple of years.
I know.
Not until she gets married.
I love that idea. And you know.
And the community is very receptive, and
Yes.
this just part of the work, and we're moving along.
Well, let's get it done.
Yeah, I like that. I like everything you brought up so far. Thank you. Trustee Saunders.
Well, I don't have very much to say today. I had our health and safety committee meeting was today, but it was canceled, lack of attendance. My health and wellness is scheduled for March 18th here at the district with Gary Gregory. And my next meeting with special ed is on March 27th at Rebecca Turner. That's all I have.
Oh, and I thought the
What
health
time
and
is the March
safety was
18th?
March 4th. I thought it was canceled, that's why I didn't show up, because of the snowstorm.
No, we schedule it, the Tuesday of the first board meeting is the health and safety meeting.
I had the wrong date.
The second board meeting of the month is health and wellness. And that's when I would like to have some of the students come so they can have some input on the lunches.
Oh, yeah.
Because the issue is that, you know, we talk about what type of lunch menu to give them, but there's nothing, they don't like anything, as we said before.
They gotta be,
Kids
they
said
gotta
You
give,
know,
there's
and
gotta be
it's-
some
and
kind of
yeah.
compromise.
So it's all about trying to be healthy, but
Pizza
then-
flavored juice.
yeah, they don't like anything. And then special education, as I said, is on the 27th at Rebecca Turner.
What's on the 18th?
The 18th
Health
is
and
health and wellness.
And what time is that?
That's at 4 o'clock. That's a Monday at 4 o'clock. No, that's Monday at 4, and then the health and safeties are the Tuesdays at 5.
I put the wrong date down.
I'm sorry.
Would have been there.
Yeah, we just changed it not too long ago.
Okay.
So, yeah.
No, I just put the wrong date
Yeah.
down. Is that all?
That's it.
Acceptance of minutes?
2-5, please, motion.
Second.
Oh, so somebody has to do a motion.
Motion, and I second. it.
Trustee Saunders, second.
What are we, sorry, what are we moving?
For the meeting.
Second.
Second.
Trustee
Minutes
Ma-
meeting. The motion for the minutes.
Got it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Rick made a motion and I seconded it.
Abstain.
The Trustee Torres abstains.
I abstain as well.
Trustee Miller abstains. Or I still pass. Motion carries.
We will be entering into executive session.
To obtain, a motion to enter executive session to talk about the employment history of a particular person or persons, review current and pending litigation, and confer with legal counsel. And student matters.
So,
And we
so
will-
moved.
oh,
Trustee McOwen,
Anything else? Sorry, Miss.
No, I was going to just
Okay.
give me a motion.
Second.
I moved.
Second.
Trustee Miller, all those in favor?
Aye.
It'll take us,
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
it's going to take us about 45 minutes.
Surely.
What's a dinger?
Don't call me Shirley.
Consent agenda.
Welcome back, everybody. We need a motion to re-enter public session.
So moved.
Oh,
Second.
it's nice to have.
Do I have a second?
Second. I second. Me, I'm here. I second.
She did, she said it.
So, but I do.
Anybody else want to offer something? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
Opportunity for the board members to remove any items from the consent agenda.
I would like to remove 8.4, 11.13,
Hold on,
Wait
8.4.
a
I
minute.
just want to make sure that's an agreement with Just Inspire.
8.4,
correct?
11,
11.13,
Authorization to award a contract based on RFP for third-party consult for pre-kindergarten.
yes, and 11.15.
Okay. Anything else?
anyone else? Nope.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Trustee Torres?
Second.
Second.
Trustee McOwen? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion to put 8.4 authorization to enter into an agreement with Just Inspire and the implementation of the expanded pre-kindergarten for 3 and 4-year-old grant on the floor for discussion?
Motion.
Trustee Miller?
I'll second it.
Trustee McOwen? What was yours, Madam President?
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Sorry? Okay.
So,
I'm sorry, go ahead. What's your,
no, I was just going to say, I know that all three of these agenda items have to do with the pre-K programs in the district. I think two or maybe all three of them are funded by grants. I just would appreciate more details from the administration on how are these programs different? Do all three of them benefit children at all schools or only certain schools? I know one of them was a very large, a relatively large grant for the, is it women business or something? So I was unclear how that related to pre-K instruction.
Okay, I'm going to ask Dr. BC to address the Just Inspire portion of it, and then I will ask Dr. Gail White-Wallace to address the impact on the 3 and 4-year-olds and whether or not that captures how many of our students it captures. Dr. BC? The role of Just Inspire in this grant?
Okay, the role of Just Inspire.
Excuse me, Dr. BC, I'm sorry.
The microphone.
Could you get the microphone?
Something else.
Okay, the role of Just Inspire is that Just Inspire is a WBE, which is a woman business enterprise. They are also our grant writers, and when they write this grant in the RFP, they're supposed to get a certain percentage because we don't pay them the salary. That's clear. Now, this grant was given to us in October, and we got it in February. It's an extension of the pre-K grant that we got. So that's why that is coming in now. We will not be able to get the money from them if we do not submit a resolution by the board. So that's why this is there. So we have to submit the resolution to you guys, for you guys to say, okay, and then we send it in, and then they send us the money. But Just Inspire has done a lot of programs. The money that you see there is that given to Just Inspire and said, here, take this amount of money, and we give it to you. They have a lot of programs within there. They have a lot of teachers they have to pay. So it's not that they get rich overnight from that. It's just that they have to use to pay their teachers, and we have to have an outside entity as per the state. So we must have that, or else we will not get the grant. That's part of all RFP.
Okay.
Okay,
Dr. Gail White-Wallace.
so-
I'm sorry, trustee.
Is this one of many, is this grant unrestricted? It's just generally to fund all of our pre-K programs in the district generally, or is it for specific portions and aspects of our pre-K instruction? And if so, which portions is it for?
You mean for Just Inspire section?
This particular agenda item?
Okay. Well, as far as I'm concerned, is the district can do whatever they want to do with the money when it comes to the pre-K, but we wrote it for Westcott, And now we're going to include other schools in it, right, Dr. White? We're going to use other schools in it as well. So the district can use it for who they want to use it for in the pre-K. So it can benefit all our pre-Ks if we wanted to.
Dr. White Wallace, you want to talk about the plans for the 3 and 4-year-olds as it relates to this grant?
Yes. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, under our 2020 vision, our goal is to ensure that all of the students that are eligible for pre-kindergarten 4 in our city limits are afforded the opportunity to attend pre-K. In order to help fund this and take the load off of the taxpayers, we have, in conjunction with the Office of School Improvement and Just Inspire, applied for the annual expansion grant. An expansion grant gives us the opportunity to take those half-day classes that we have implemented left in the district, which are housed in our 4 or 5 West Cobb sites, and now transition and expand those into full day. So all of the existing CBOs that are on the south side in our West Cobb agencies will be able to run on a full day schedule. What that means for those parents is it's even more than an 8:30 a.m. to a 3 p.m. program. Because we partner with West Cobb, those parents will be able to have early drop-off and late pickup because we're able to subsidize the full day instead of the 2.5-hour half day that we have currently running in those sites.
Okay.
How long is the grant for? How long is it for?
Just for this year?
It is going to fund us as long as we fulfill the requirements and the parameters, one of those being the WBE.
Right.
As that is a state preference,
Right.
that we work with those types of vendors. So as Dr. BC talked about, Just Inspire is a conduit. So if you look at the board resolution you have in front of you, you will see that with working with me in conjunction, they will purchase materials, help with some parent and community activities, as well as support and make sure that we are fulfilling all parts of the grant as per New York State Office of Early Learning.
Okay.
And we don't pay them, the state pays them.
Right.
So you want me to talk about 11?
Well, let's wait until we.
Yeah, take action on this one first, and then we'll move down. You can stay there.
I have no further questions about 8.4.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Can we have a motion, please, to approve? Come on. Oh, that's not, a motion to approve authorization to award a contract based on RFP 2018-19-04 for third-party consultant services for pre-kindergarten.
What number is that, Rick?
11:13. So moved.
Second?
Got it.
Second.
All right, discussion.
Okay.
Same question.
All right.
In accordance to our purchasing policy, when working with any outside vendor over the threshold of $20,000, a bid must be executed. Danielle, our purchasing agent, myself, and the pre-kindergarten team wrote with Ingerman & Smith a bid for consultant and support services for pre-kindergarten classrooms across the district, as well as CBOs. This bid and this RFP focuses on outside evaluation and support as required by the Office of Early Learning. The first of those is the Guidance Center. So the Guidance Center was one of our bidders. It was actually the most affordable for the district. They are Westchester based, and what they do is they provide the screenings for all pre-K 3 and pre-K 4 students that are housed in CBOs. So when you talk about screening students, it must be by a validated psychologist who passes a test and who is approved to screen students. They perform that service for us. In addition, as in accordance to New York State, by 2020, all of our staff members in pre-kindergarten must be certified in the pyramid model. The pyramid model is our multi-tiered support model, which takes RTI and PBIS, meshes them together to provide 365-degree support to students in pre-kindergarten. The Guidance Center, along with Living Above Disorder, provide the 22 hours of training to all new staff, as well as the TPOT, the pyramid observation tool that must be done by an outside evaluator to evaluate our implementation of the pyramid model. The bid was also utilized to help us support parents that are at risk and our families, such as our new undertaking, which is our pre-K intake, which you will see at next board meeting.
So this organization is going to train pre-K teachers.
Yes. So they're certified by the state. The state has specific cadres of people that are certified to conduct this pyramid model, that are specially trained, and they then come here and they train our teachers, they monitor them, they also do observation reports, they then meet with me, and I support teachers and put the plan together.
I have no more questions, thanks.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Motion to approve authorization to award authorization to award a contract based on RFP 2018-19-04 for third-party consultant services for pre-kindergarten. 11.1.
Motion.
Trustee
Oh,
McGowan?
you're back up.
Second.
Dr. White Wallace, you're
Miller?
back up.
One more.
11, this is another RFP for pre-K?
Yes.
Above disorder. This is above disorder.
So Living Above Disorder is another consultant that also supports the TPOT.
Thank you.
Living Above Disorder helps our teachers, and they do in-class teacher coaching. They also help facilitate the year-long series for pre-kindergarten and kindergarten classroom teachers in behavior management, classroom culture, and support. Living Above Disorder, also with the Guidance Center, are New York State approved and trained for TPOT, ECHRS assessments, which is the early learning environment assessment that we must do on classrooms every year, TPOT, pyramid, and pre-K counseling services.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, BC. Gail White Wallace.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
And before we move on, please join me in congratulating Barbara Abbey, who is in the audience this evening, on her appointment as an administrative appointment, probationary administrative appointment. Congratulations. I know you've been awaiting this for quite a while.
All right.
Oh, wait a minute, unfinished business. Any unfinished business?
Oh, I had one thing. When are we going to see the, unless I missed something when I was away, are we going to see that security report?
Actually, I haven't seen it yet
Okay.
either. Ken Silver, Michael Policio, can you give me the status on that security assessment? Okay. All right.
But it's
I
going to
know
be
I-
this is, my understanding, it's going to be a comprehensive recommendation for us for the district? And that's coming soon? Yes. Okay, great. Just wanted to know. Yeah. I was just wondering when it might be forthcoming.
And by the way, at this point in the agenda, just wanted to share with you, we are anticipating to provide information to the board at the next meeting on Mount Vernon High School and the pool schedule and where we are related to the pool. I put some information in the confidential last
Yeah.
week on the pool, but we'll actually have a more thorough update at the next meeting by Gary Gregory. And Ron Gonzalez will be presenting his plan after it has been vetted with Cabinet on plans for Mount Vernon High School to address some of the issues that have surfaced, particularly of late.
I wanted to say on the pool front that I had coffee with my mentee this afternoon, and she was an avid swimmer, was on the swim team in Maryland before they moved up here. And I guess she moved up here in 8th grade. But anyway, she's already started swimming, and she's going to get certified as a lifeguard, so she is
Yes.
like totally excited, so.
Kudos to Gary Gregory.
Kudos to
and
the team for getting it done.
Yes,
great.
and to Pretlow, Assemblyman Pretlow.
Yep.
The students who are being certified as lifeguards. This grant has allowed us to pay that, cover that cost for them. And in exchange, they're committed to work this summer and get paid.
71-55 final. Go Knights.
So let's have the retreat in New Paltz.
I can make it happen.
New business.
Yeah. I wanted to put it out there for the board to discuss the agenda for Saturday.
Take notes for me on this.
One of the things that I know we all talked about our different ideas, like we have a lot of different ideas about what we'd like to have in the district and everything, and I thought one of the ways we could prepare ourselves for Saturday is to frame, because we're supposed to be talking about our objectives, our near-term, mid-term, long-term objectives. And I thought it might be helpful for us, this is how I was trying to help myself narrow down all the things I'd like to see, is to focus on things that support the current vision and support the execution of the current vision, of the 2020 vision, because I do feel that we're very much in the executional, we're not in the building, we're still in the building stage, but we're in the executional stage. So I think it's critical that anything that we make as a priority objective, or as our, let's say we're going to come up with 3 or 5, I don't know how many objectives we're going to come up with, but things that support the vision and support the rollout of the vision, and to Dr. Ning's point earlier, that to support, the excellence at the high schools and academic achievement and everything else. So I think if we start with those, and also we have to have things that are going to be measurable, because there's no point in setting objectives or goals if you can't measure them. So I was hoping that, we all saw what the proposed agenda is. I just want to make sure that we have time to both agree on as a team, and this is just, I'm suggesting this now, so everybody weigh in, to agree on, the first part of the meeting is to agree on the objectives, but they have to touch the 2020 vision, they have to touch the mission and what we've committed to the community and what we've committed to our children. And then we can talk about how we can measure those. And then I'm hopeful we can also talk about, projects and other things we'd like to see. But one of the purposes of having this discussion was, A, to figure out where we're going from here, right, beyond 2020, but also at Dr. Hamilton's request to be clear on what our focus is going to be, so that when we're making requests of the administration, they should be tied to one of these 3 or 4 objectives. Because right now, everybody's working so hard against our current goals, against the 2020 vision, that anything that's a distraction can take the administration's focus away from that. So one of the things I think we had agreed was that once we decide on these objectives, that we understand that everything else will take a second seat to that, unless it becomes an emergency or something like that. So I just wanted to throw that out as a possible framework for Saturday, because at the end of the day, we don't even really have 4 hours. We'll probably have 3 net hours. We have to be really efficient.
I appreciate that. I did reach out to Trustee Miller today as to help gain greater insight into how we might be, at least from her perspective, how we might be able to make the most effective use of our time. And I appreciate the clarity that she provided this evening, as she did on during our conversation today. So I wanted to make sure that 2 things were accomplished in this retreat based on your feedback to me. And one is that, in speaking with Trustee Miller, I actually decided it may be more fruitful for us to kind of reverse that and agree on what our priorities are, as Trustee Miller mentioned, but then to make sure that each board member has an opportunity to express and articulate any initiatives that are near and dear to you, and how they match those objectives that we agree on, so that our work is organized and synthesized moving forward over the next year or two. I know I emailed it to you, but I also shared with you a hard copy because it's easier to read of the superintendent's status report, which is really designed to give you a periodic update on what the evidence or the indicators of success are as we work toward those goals. And please review that. And if this is not a format that works for you, or if you'd like to see something else that would give you more information, or if it's too much information even, because I know I'm information overkill guy, yeah, we can synthesize that as well to make it easier to read and more digestible for you. But please look at this. This is cumulative through the year. So this is status report number 2, and there will be 2 more by the end of this year. So we generally do 4 during the course of the year, and it really is the tool that helps guide our work, and it gives us an opportunity to look at what our evidence is, and then of course share that with you. So as you conduct your evaluations on your success as a team, your evaluations of me as the leader of the district, you have the document that has that evidence before you.
Great.
I had 2 things. First, just for the benefit of the public, to remind them, what we're planning on Saturday is called a retreat, and it's a way for the board to meet privately with and openly with the superintendent to discuss things without taking any action. But it's just a way for us, because we're not allowed to meet 5 or more of us together without some kind of formal structure, and this is the structure where we can do that. We will not be taking any action, but as the superintendent mentioned, the goal is to plan forward for the district, what happens, in the coming years, and get a better framework for how all 9 of us can best be unified in that effort. My only question for you, second, was, Dr. Hamilton, because as I know you're planning to do, and what often superintendents do at a retreat is use a facilitator or somebody to help guide the discussion. What do you want, or this facilitator want from us to bring to the table? Would it be helpful, for example, for us to send some of our priorities or goals, our personal priorities, personal goals, to you in advance of Saturday, or is that not really helpful, or what?
You know what?
How can we make the best use of these 3 hours?
That's a good point. I appreciate the question. I think that would be helpful, actually, from the facilitator. I forget her name, Andrea? Andrea. It would probably be helpful for her, just in terms of managing the time and making sure that all voices are in fact heard. That was very important from my perspective, to make sure that all of you feel that you have been heard during the course of our time together. So to the extent that we can fine-tune that and organize it in a way so that we don't run out of time, or we hear 4 and we don't hear 5, that may be very useful.
Yeah, and I would recommend, to the extent you haven't already, I mean, over the last week or so, I've been just jotting notes to myself about things that I think are important, and even in this process, I'm revising them, I'm, changing the wording, I'm narrowing them down, or finding out, oh, really number 3 and number 7 are actually the same thing. I'm doing through this process
Makes
myself.
sense.
It's very helpful to go through it,
Makes sense.
in
Makes sense.
advance.
And hopefully at the end, you'll be able to look at whatever we come up with the goals and say, my concerns or my initiatives or my vision for the district is already captured. And
Yeah.
if not, how do we tweak it so that it captures all 9 of your ideas?
And this was how we came up with the 2020 vision to begin with.
Right.
I mean, it was at a retreat, and we went through this process, and we had to check in the next year, and
Right.
Yep.
this is how it works.
Any other thoughts?
Can we have a live feed to the basketball game? If we
Yeah,
can't go,
seriously.
I'm just saying.
I think we can make that happen, right?
Okay.
Make it happen.
Just asking. If I can't go, at least
Yeah.
I can watch.
Okay. I think we could do that.
That's another thing that's going to eat into our time, as opposed to getting periodic updates. I'm sorry, but I'm really mindful of how much time we have and how hard it is to get all 9 of us together, so I'm just saying.
I agree.
But maybe we can have someone like Ken Silver or Greg Bonaparte or someone update us on it.
Someone is going to be there, like live.
Every time there's a score change.
Speaking of, if we're done with this, I have another new business item.
Well, I don't know, does anyone else have something to add
I'm fine.
on the format?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Can we get robocalls about amazing events like championship matches for our district? We get robocalls about food pantry, but not about going to see the
Calls do y'all
championship.
want? Yeah,
Come on.
Give me some clarity. Do you want the
We'll talk about this
school
at the retreat.
thing? Do you want, what do you want?
Not every single
Sometimes-
game, but come on, like a championship match, it was
Okay,
awesome.
fair enough.
There's a schedule.
It's the
you know, they have
schedule,
a
it's all
schedule,
over.
but,
I know they got a schedule.
But we
I
won,
know.
but we won the section.
So does the food pantry have a schedule?
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be,
No, but
that'll be good.
Great save, Jeff.
In all seriousness, though, I mean, one priorities, and I'm sure we'll talk about it at the retreat, is the PR effort and how we sync things in the district and how we decide, you know, which things just go on the website, which things go on the website plus a robocall, which things go with a press release and a newsletter, you know, like.
That's a good point.
And whether it's sports or academics or college admissions or just neat field trips or whatever, we need a structure in place.
And I'll share with the board as well an idea I have related to that, particularly over the next couple of months around PR and marketing as well. And another initiative that I'd like to share with you in a think tank kind of session.
Can I'm sorry, but also can we just, Dr. Werman, if it's possible, we can make sure to touch base with all the coaches of all the teams
Yeah.
and make sure that they know it's really important, because I know that there's some comments that we're not covering all of the teams
That's very true.
equally.
Yes.
And I'd really like to see. Yeah,
especially
Yeah.
Deepening our efforts.
fantastic. Thank you.
Are we going to have a healthy breakfast?
I don't think are we getting breakfast?
We are getting breakfast. I don't know how healthy it's going to be, but
Okay.
we can work on making it healthy. Right, Rick?
Sure can.
What time do we start? 9?
9.
Trying to see if I'm
Breakfast is
up.
at 8:30. Yes, it's here.
Oh, breakfast is 8:30, okay.
Well, the breakfast will be, get here.
No, I mean, well, if we
You
want to
already
start
ordered?
at 9.
What?
You already ordered?
I'm ordering it tomorrow.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Happy,
Aye.
what's it, a Mardi Gras Day? Got Tuesday?